Welcome to The Explainer. So glad you're joining us today. If you're someone who just loves to understand exactly how the world works, well, you are absolutely in the right place. Today, we're unpacking an experience pretty much all of us share, and frankly, a frustration almost all of us have felt. You walk into a movie theater, that incredible smell of butter hits you, you stroll up to the concession stand, and then, bam, sticker shock. You wonder how on earth a bucket of popped corn could possibly cost more than your actual movie ticket. Well, we're going to break down the absolutely fascinating hidden economics behind that exact moment. Okay, let's just dive right into this. 788%. That is the astonishing average markup on a standard bag of movie theater popcorn. Research shows that a medium bucket of popcorn costs the theater roughly 90 cents to produce. And yes, that includes the whole shebang, the kernels, the oil, the butter flavoring, and the bag itself. Yet, that very same bag is routinely sold to you for around $8. Which brings us to the ultimate question, doesn't it? Why do we pay it? It's a completely fascinating paradox. We're pretty rational consumers in almost every other area of our lives, right? Yet we will willingly step up to a counter and hand over a $10 bill for a snack that we know for a fact is marked up by almost 800%. So how exactly did this happen? Let's kick things off with part one, the popcorn price paradox. To really understand this, we've got to look at the surface-level frustration that every single consumer faces. And just to prove how universally hated this markup is, consider this wild story. Back in 2012, a 20-year-old from Michigan named Justin Thompson was so incredibly outraged by the prices at his local cinema that he actually filed a lawsuit against AMC Theaters. He sued them for charging what he called grossly excessive prices. His lawyer made the point that his client was being taken for a ride mainly because you could get a bag of popcorn at a convenience store for next to nothing. Now, the lawsuit was eventually dismissed, but it perfectly captured that exact cultural outrage we all feel. The mathematical reality here is just stark. Think about it. If you go online right now, you can buy a massive bulk bag of genuine movie theater popcorn, yielding about 175 cups, for just under $50. That breaks down to roughly 27 cents a cup. But at the theater, an 11-cup medium bag costs $8. That is 73 cents a cup. It's literally the ultimate example of captive audience monopoly pricing. Once you are through those doors, they are the only game in town. Moving on to part two, from band to savior. A little surprising history for you. To truly grasp why theaters wield this insane monopoly power today, we have to flip the script and travel back in time a bit. Back in 1885, Charles Craters invented the steam-powered popcorn maker, which meant popcorn could easily be sold from mobile street carts. But it wasn't in theaters quite yet. Then 1927 rolls around and talkies, or sound films, arrived. Suddenly, the loud crunching of snacks was actually masked by the audio of the movie itself. A few years later, the Great Depression hit hard. Popcorn, sitting at just 5 to 10 cents a bag, became a cheap, accessible luxury for struggling families going to the movies just to escape reality. Finally, during World War II in 1945, severe sugar shortages meant candy was strictly rationed. But corn? Corn wasn't. So popcorn stepped right into the void and became the undisputed king of the cinema. But here is the greatest irony of all. Before all of that happened, early luxury theaters explicitly banned popcorn. No way were you bringing that inside. In the early 20th century, theater owners really wanted to mimic high-end opera houses. They had these beautiful velvet carpets, golden ceilings, live orchestras. They viewed popcorn as a lowbrow, messy street food that would absolutely ruin their gorgeous rugs and distract their high-class patrons. The snack that literally defines the modern film industry today was originally considered completely unacceptable. All right, part three, the razor and blades, the big economic reveal. So how exactly did this outcast snack become the entire foundation of the industry? Get ready to have your perspective totally shifted because modern theaters are not actually in the movie business. When you break down a major cinema chain's top-line revenue, sure, movie tickets bring in the majority, about 57%, while snacks and sodas bring in 43%. On the surface, it definitely looks like they are primarily making their money from showing movies. But as we know, revenue does not equal profit. When we look at actual profit, the numbers completely flip. Concessions generate 55% of the gross profit, while tickets only bring in 45%. That $8 popcorn you're buying boasts an absolutely incredible 84% profit margin. Why the massive flip? Well, it's all about how the money gets divided up. When you buy a movie ticket, the theater doesn't just pocket that cash. They have to hand over a huge percentage of ticket sales, sometimes up to 70% during opening weeks, directly back to the Hollywood studios and distributors. That leaves the theater with very little left over to cover their massive overhead costs like rent, air conditioning, and paying their staff. But the popcorn? The theater gets to keep 100% of every single overpriced kernel they sell to you. This is a textbook example of what economists call the razor and blades model. Think about it. A company sells you a razor handle incredibly cheap, maybe even taking a loss on it, but then they charge you an absolute fortune for the replacement blades over the next few years. Video game consoles do the exact same thing. The console itself is cheap, but the games are expensive. In the cinema business, the blockbuster movie is just the loss leader. The movie is literally just bait designed strictly to get you in the door so they can sell you that highly profitable popcorn. And hey, if you think theaters are just swimming in greedy popcorn profits, consider this. Negative 0.34%. In early 2024, giant chains like AMC actually reported negative net profit margins. It's an incredibly brutal business with massive fixed costs. So that $8 popcorn isn't just a fun luxury for the theater's bottom line, it is an absolute lifeline. Without it, the theater literally ceases to exist. Which brings us to part 4, the psychology of pricing. Let's talk about mind games. Now that we know they desperately need to sell you popcorn, how do they ensure that you actually buy it? Imagine walking up to the counter and seeing the menu. You've got a small popcorn for $4, a medium for $6.50, and a large for $7. Think about your own thought process in that moment. The jump from small to medium is $2.50, but the jump from medium to large is only 50 cents. Suddenly, your brain is screaming that the large is an incredible deal. You're getting way more popcorn for just 2 quarters. This brilliantly illustrates a really cool concept called the decoy effect. The renowned behavioral economist Dan Ariely has studied this extensively. When presented with just 2 options, a cheap small or an expensive large, consumers are generally split based on what they actually want to spend. But when you introduce a third option, the medium, which is terribly priced compared to the large, it completely changes consumer behavior. The medium is entirely a decoy. It exists solely to anchor your pricing logic and make the large, which is the expensive target item the theater wanted you to buy all along, look like a totally sensible bargain. But it's not just math, right? They are targeting your senses too. Theaters intentionally cultivate yellow corn varieties because they naturally look like they're dripping in butter, even before a single drop is added. They use strategic scent marketing, aggressively venting the smell of popping corn right into the lobby because it acts as a powerful psychological trigger for nostalgia and excitement. And lately, they've even turned the popcorn bucket itself into an event, selling these limited edition $30 light-up collectible buckets to drive fandom sales. They are literally attacking every single one of your senses. Finally, part 5, selling the cinema experience. Let's look at true value. This brings us to the very last layer of the onion, the underlying value of what consumers are actually purchasing when they buy that overpriced bucket. The crucial point here is an economic principle called price discrimination. Researchers at the Stanford Graduate School of Business looked deeply into movie theater data. They realized that high snack prices allow theaters to charge different people different amounts for the exact same movie experience. If you're a budget-conscious student, you can buy a $9 ticket, skip the snacks entirely, and still see the movie. But if you're a die-hard movie fan looking for a great night out, you'll gladly pay the $9 plus $20 for snacks. Theaters maximize their revenue without pricing the budget viewer out of the room. Just listen to this quote from the CEO of Regal Cinemas. He said, "If we didn't charge as much for concessions as we did, the tickets to the movies would cost $20. The Stanford research backs this up entirely. The exorbitant prices of the secondary goods, the snacks, are actually subsidizing the baseline cost of the primary good, the admission ticket, for everyone." Talk about a massive script flip. The people stepping up to the counter and buying the $8 popcorn and the $6 soda are effectively paying for the person who only bought a ticket. Because if theaters lowered the price of popcorn, they would have to drastically raise the price of a movie ticket just to keep the lights on. And that means millions of price-sensitive families would no longer be able to afford the magic of the movies at all. So there you have it. The hidden economics, the decoy effect, the razor and blades model, all wrapped up in a buttery, salty crunch. Next time you buy popcorn, you aren't just getting a snack, you're literally subsidizing the silver screen for everyone else. Thank you so much for learning with me today on The Explainer. But before you go, I want you to ask yourself, If theaters are using this brilliant playbook on you, what other businesses are secretly making you pay for everyone else? Until next time.